false one.
Well, there are two different stories of Adam and Eve. The one, both of them arrive together, but the second story is one where Adam is all by himself and he's lonely, so he needs company, and completely ignoring Lilith, which is a whole nother story.
Where'd you get the Lilith thing from?
Lilith is, in the Jewish tradition, she was the first
Okay.
mate, and she was unsatisfactory because she didn't want to be on bottom.
Hence the missionary position that comes into play.
And if you look up Lilith and you look up images of Lilith, she's
And who started the Jewish? Which It's like the modern version, or because those are some modern pictures.
no, this is ancient stuff.
Those looks like. Why she look so evil?
Well, and in fact, she's traced. I think that would be Isis, or I mean, it's not just the Jewish tradition.
Is that Egypt?
No, that's Babylonian.
Oh, okay, so it's way back then.
Oh yeah, Lilith is kind of intriguing. There's also a book by MacDonald called Lilith. I thought it was interesting that in the Harry Potter series, Harry's mother is Lily. And I even asked a minister, do you think she's Lilith? And she was, no. She was angry that I even considered it.
Because the kids probably read Harry Potter.
Well, it's
you can make an argument that she could be the devil.
well, no, I don't know how that would fit, but here's
Out of jealousy, right? Out of jealousy for not.
let me do this before class starts because I don't want to get in trouble with everybody. But the one story, of course, is that Adam is alone, and so God takes a particular curved bone from him while he's asleep and makes Eve. So now here's the question: which curved bone did God take from Adam?
The PG version is a rib.
Okay, you're familiar then with where this story goes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because
You know me, I dive deep.
we actually have all of our ribs, they're the same. However, we are missing a particular curved bone called a baculus. Baculum. So apparently most mammals, the males have a bone in the penis. Yeah, the whale, the walrus, the mice have bones. But humans do not. And so the theory goes that this was the rabbi's way of explaining why males do not have that curved bone. So that's fun. Not everybody agrees, of course. A lot of people like the rib idea, but
Since we both have the same amount of ribs.
we do. So that's fun. The rabbis are hilarious, actually.
Well, maybe that's a way to say that we're not whole until we have both, because we're missing a piece of ourselves, and that's the piece we're missing out of it. You can philosophize the hell out of that one.
So, something I should have done last class and I didn't. I hope it's not why so many people are missing today. I shouldn't have said Jesus was not born in Bethlehem. I should have said scholars from the historical, the quest for the historical Jesus argue that he was not born in Bethlehem. So I shouldn't have actually sounded like there's absolutely an answer to this.
I don't think that's why people are missing.
However, the quest for the historical Jesus, I believe, began with Um, Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer. He used to be famous. Anybody ever heard of Albert Schweitzer? Great organist, but he was also a missionary to Africa. He was there in a French colony, but he was considered German, even though he was from Alsace-Lorraine, and Alsace-Lorraine flipped a couple times. But in any case, he was there since the French wouldn't allow a German minister to be there. He went as a doctor. He got his medical degree in 2 years. Back then, you could do that. And so he went. So he went as a medical doctor to whatever French colony in Africa it was, and World War I broke out. And since he was German, the French put a fence around the compound where he was treating the patients to officially put him in jail, which actually didn't change anything. But at least they recovered, right? But while he was reading the news about a battle in Europe, and he was talking to the chief of the town, he read how many casualties, how many people died in a particular battle. And the chief looked at him and said, "How can you eat that many people?" Because their tribe believed that if you killed an enemy, you had an obligation to eat that person. And so he was just aghast at the possibility of eating thousands and thousands of dead. And you know, it occurred to me that, you know, if we had that tradition, we probably wouldn't be able to have such big battles, you know, because we'd have to stop and eat all the Irish.
So where do you think Jesus was born then?
Nazareth is where they say.
Scholastic interpretation or no?
Well, the official dogmatic view, of course, is Bethlehem.
That's because they wanted it to fall within the Micah teachings.
I'm not familiar with the term. But yeah, there was a tradition of associating the cave in Bethlehem with important births.
The prophecy of Micah foretold that Jesus was born in.
Okay. So they want.
No, he was born in his mother's city of Nazareth. But they only said that because that's where his mother was.
But there's a lot of stories that the scholars argue were just added to, you know, build up who Jesus was, like the slaughter of all the infants to try to get him. You know, because Herod was told that, you know, this new Messiah had been born, and so he sent his forces out to kill all the infants. Totally false. I mean, there's no historical record, and what king would do that to his people? You know,
one that wants to stay in power.
Well, the thing is, it's a mythical idea that someone knew, you know, the Messiah has just been born.
Somebody could have been preaching it, and just to quell those rumors.
Well, I'd like to think that is false. A false story.
Birth certificate on a stone tablet. I'm going to say we don't know.
Could be. So, yeah. So the quest, when you think about it, the quest was kind of secularist. Not necessarily just. I mean, a lot of the members of the Jesus Seminar, for example, were monks or priests or theologians or whatever. And they got interested and started trying to figure out, well, what can we actually find out historically from historical records? And there are actually quite a lot. Specifically, Josephus Flavius. Josephus Flavius has 2 mentions of Jesus in his works, etc. So, fascinating stuff. But today, we want to go
Augustine.
Augustine.
You notice when you research Augustine, it doesn't say St. Augustine. No.
There are actually multiple St. Augustines. I think St. Augustine in Florida might be named for a different one. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's the way to decipher, you know. He's more important, so he gets the name.
Remember, the Emperor Augustus. And so it's Latin for wise, basically. So it's another one of those name puzzles.
Play on the name, yeah.
But in any case,
Well, you don't want to be named something that means fool, so.
so I'm officially starting class now because it's actually late now. It's 31. Here's the gun go off. Start to run. So yeah, St. Augustine. I mean, what we were looking at coming up to this, of course, is Plato is important. Stoicism is important because Augustine is also considered a Stoic. He's a rhetor. He's born in Thagaste. His mother is a Christian, and she becomes a saint as well because she eventually gets him to change to Christianity as well. His father is a pagan and working hard, earning money in order to give him the best schooling possible. And Monica, his mother, doesn't actually want him to get baptized yet. In fact, there's a famous quote, he's going to get baptized, but not yet, because he wants to sin first. Monica is convinced as a young man he's going to get in trouble, he's going to do those things, and baptism was thought of as a clean slate. And so wait until, it's right, to erase all the stuff and get him a fresh, start. He goes to study in kind of like the Harvard of the day, and ends up becoming a rhetor. And as a rhetor, he's also interested in Mani. And Mani is founder of Manichaeism, which is one of the Gnostic religions. I mentioned the Gnostics. The leader of Gnosticism at the time of the Nicene Council was Arius. And so if you see it considered to be an Arian heresy, because Arius was the monk that argued for that particular interpretation of Christianity. It is Christian. It's a Christian sect. But it's again tied into kind of a dichotomy between good and evil that we see in multiple. It never goes away. There's lots of folks that continue to think that that's the most best way to explain the narrative, if you like. But so Augustine becomes a follower of Mani, a Manichaean, for a while, and in fact he takes a wife. They don't officially get married, but he does have a wife that he's loyal to. Sounds to me like he was a good husband, actually. And they had a son, and eventually the son, when he's older, ends up dying, and it's very upsetting to Augustine. However, he ends up becoming discouraged with Manichaeanism. And so he's loaded with doubts, and as a rhetor, he's moved to Milan in Italy, and he becomes the emperor's rhetor. So he's like, not Pam Bondi, who's the one that always gives the briefings at the White House, that person. That's, kind of what Augustine was supposed to be doing. And being there in what was the real capital of Rome at the time, Rome was still there, but Rome was so big and so full of all kinds of problems that the emperor basically moved to Milan, which was a nicer place. But so anyway, Milan is really the active capital of the Roman Empire at the time. And Bishop Ambrose is really the closest thing they had to a pope at the time. And he was the pope, or the bishop of Milan. And I should show you him quickly.
Caroline Levitt. White
Is
House
that
Press
the
Secretary.
White House? So Ambrose. There is a great book, by the way. But by the way, I keep throwing out books and things to read and so on, and I realize this is like overwhelming. I would think. I cheated. I mean, I'm what, 74. I've been reading since I was in the womb. Could have been funny. But I think my mother did read to me. So, I don't know. But in any case, so I've got a head start. Plus, back when I was reading and stuff, we didn't have alternative distractors, like the internet. If you wanted to go to a movie, you had to go to the theater. I remember seeing the 10 Commandments with my father, at a theater.
You call on the phone and then have to listen to all the movies till you get to yours. Movie times.
Movie times. I don't know how my dad knew when the movie was, but we got there, paid our ticket, got in, the theater was slightly lit, but then the lights went off and then the movie started. So we were like just on time. My dad did things like that. He'd show up on time for things, including baseball games, football games. The smell of cigarettes and beer and hot dogs, I associate that with cold, sitting on the bleachers, at the games. In any case, when I suggest books and things, I'm not suggesting, boy, you really got to read this. Well, think about it. You're the ones that have paid the university, for this course. And you want to get your